What's up, everyone? It's Enrique again, Basement Radio Arcade. I know I did a podcast yesterday, or a live stream yesterday, and this is Final Fantasy VII. And so again, I apologize, I'm still recovering from a cold, but wanted to talk about the PlayStation experience. Shout out to my man Lemieux66. We were actually supposed to do a podcast this weekend, and he got tied up, weren't able to do that. But one of the things we were going to talk about was one of the things that we were going to discuss was the PlayStation experience, and we were going to also talk about the presentation of Sony's PlayStation VR virtual reality. So, one of the things that I really want to talk about in this particular video is really I'm not going to talk too much about the PlayStation experience per se, because that's another conversation that I know Lemieux would like to have as well. But one of the things that was shown at PlayStation Experience was the PlayStation VR, and so one of the things that's interesting about Sony VR is that we still don't know what the price of the virtual reality of Sony's virtual VR is going to be like. We don't have any indication. Some people are speculating that maybe this is going to be something that cost around the same price as the game consoles. So think maybe $350 for a virtual reality headset. And look, we saw Sony demonstrate some of the games for PlayStation VR, and so it's by the way, Final Fantasy VII here, one of my favorite games, one of my favorite Final Fantasy VII, or Final Fantasy games, I should say, in the Final Fantasy series. So it's just such a fantastic game. It's one of those games to me that really was one of the big reasons why. Well, at least I think one of the reasons why Sony, the PlayStation, became successful, because this was kind of a coup for them to take Final Fantasy away from Nintendo at the time. But I could talk about that in another video. So, geez, I can't believe it's been 18 years since this game came out. So it's almost been 2 decades. That's amazing. But and look, for 18 years ago, the visuals you're seeing right now were just above anything that we had seen up until that point in console gaming. So, and a lot of that had to do with the transition from cartridge to CD disc, which allowed games to do things differently. So, and I'm actually going to have to start playing here, I think. Yep. So one of the things, again, I wanted to talk about was, is Sony's PlayStation 4 or PlayStation Virtual Reality, is Sony PSVR, is it doomed? Is it kind of dead on arrival? I think a lot of people, just basing fan reaction, what I was seeing on forums and on Twitter, a lot of people were not impressed with the presentation. And so the question becomes, is it... I gotta fight these guys here. Alright. I'm gonna try to multitask again, try to talk. It's so funny, at the time this game came out, these visuals were just amazing. Alright, so Sony's PlayStation VR debuted, or not debuted, but we got a little bit more of a glimpse of it at PlayStation Experience. And again, some of the fan reaction that I saw on the forums and in Twitter, people weren't really that impressed. I've kind of had this love-hate relationship with virtual reality. I'm kind of, I've been on the fence with it. I don't know how practical it's going to be for delivering, at least for the time being, for right now. Who knows what the near future holds for VR, but at least for the time being, I don't think it's going to provide, core gamers the kind of gaming experiences that they're used to with some of these big AAA games. Now, I could be wrong. I'm really speaking in terms of my gaming preferences, what I like to see. I'm sure there'll probably be some experiences that will, that many of us will probably enjoy with VR, but then the question is, when does that novelty wear off? When does the novelty of those experiences wear off? Because they may. I think we have, as gamers, a certain expectation of games, or how we've played games, and what the kind of content that we want to see. And for me personally, I haven't seen anything just yet that really. There's Cloud. I haven't seen anything yet that's really kind of caught my eye with PlayStation VR, and I think that we saw a lot of games at PlayStation Experience for PlayStation VR that just, at least for me, just didn't really make me that excited for PlayStation VR. If PlayStation VR is going to cost $300, I would like to see a little bit more in terms of gaming content. I'm trying to I'm trying to be as open-minded about VR as possible, but it's just, there's just certain things, certain experiences that I want in gaming, in games, and I just don't see VR doing that just yet. I think that when I think of VR and the kind of experiences I want, I don't know if this is going to be anything more than, what we saw with some of the, the presentation or some of the games that we saw at PlayStation Experience for PSVR, like I believe it's the 100-foot robot. I forget the name of the game. It's 100-foot golfers. That was something that was showed for VR. That's not anything that I'm really interested in. There was that zombie taxi cab game. That's VR. Again, that's nothing that really interests me. To me, those games are games that I just don't. I just wouldn't pick up and play. I like to see a little bit more from Sony with some of the VR stuff, and I just didn't see it there. And so I'm not so sure if this is going to be something that maybe works out. Now, who knows? Maybe it does. But I think that the challenge with this kind of technology is you're going to have to deliver a killer app. You're going to have to deliver something that gamers are going to want, and not just casual gamers, because I think this thing's probably going to really appeal to that casual fan base or the casual gamers from the get-go. Maybe people who don't do a lot of gaming, maybe people who do more mobile gaming, because the kind of games I saw that were demonstrated at PlayStation Experience for PSVR were kind of games that my personal opinion, I think those are the kind of games that would probably appeal to a little bit more of a casual fan base, or maybe casual gamers, and that's fine. I mean, if that's who they're targeting, that's fine. More power to them. But for me, it's not something that I'm going to that I probably won't gravitate to, especially if I'm going to pay, the same amount of money for, that I would on a game console for this new technology. Now, who's to say that, in 10 years that maybe we'll all be wearing, headsets and doing things in virtual reality, and, we'll be playing games like Destiny, or we'll be playing big AAA titles using VR headset. Maybe that happens. If that happens, that could potentially be exciting. Maybe that's something that I could get into. I can only imagine playing a game like a Destiny in VR, where I'm looking around, I'm doing a raid, and everything's right there, and kind of being immersed in that kind of game, and not just a shooter, but maybe something like Tomb Raider. I can only imagine doing Tomb Raider in VR and what that would be like. But anyhow, so the games that they show were just things that I just really didn't really appeal to me. I didn't think it was a good showing of the games. I don't think the demonstration that Sony showed did anything to really kind of excite people. It didn't excite me, for one. And again, I've kind of go back to this love-hate relationship I had. I've kind of thought that maybe VR is kind of maybe it's a fad, kind of like 3D. Remember when 3D was all the rage with television sets, and now 3D's gone. I have a 3D Samsung LED, and I got free 3D glasses. I never use it, but that fad kind of went away. So maybe this is a fad. Maybe it's not. Who knows? Time will tell. But I really think that Sony should I really think that Sony really needs to deliver, you know, a AAA game. And yes, they do have some third-party developers supporting it, but let's face it, I think the majority of the development or the majority of the support is probably going to come from Sony first party. And that's the other thing that kind of worries me a little bit. You know, I own a PlayStation 4. Obviously, I bought a Sony PlayStation 4, for me at least, for some of their first-party exclusives. You know, this past year they didn't release you know, any real big first-party exclusives, and that's kind of you know, they've released some of the remasters of, you know, the Uncharted collection and God of War, but we didn't really see any new first-party stuff from them this year, and we're going to get some more next year. You know, we start off early on the year with Uncharted 4 by Naughty Dog, and we'll get some more later on in 2016. But I'm always wondering, and there's a little bit of rumbling out there that Sony perhaps now is going to be more focused in their first-party development, or that first-party studios work on PlayStation VR. And you know what? I need to start moving Cloud here. The dialogue. I'm sure you guys are like wondering what the hell is he doing. I will keep his name Cloud. I'm a traditionalist. So, you know, it seems like Sony's really going to focus a lot of their first-party stuff now on developing for PlayStation VR, and you know, who knows? Maybe out of that they make a great killer app that that, you know, people just rush to, and I think that's kind of the onus on them and the risk in doing VR. And you know, we'll see what happens. You know, my concern is that the focus is going to be too much on PlayStation VR, and they'll potentially neglect, you know, some of the, you know, making enough traditional AAA games for the PlayStation 4, with all the emphasis and focus on VR development. And you know, that's a slippery slope if they I think if they focus too much on that. And I just think about the Kinect, and I think about Microsoft and how Microsoft pulled Rare. You remember Rare did a lot of stuff for the Kinect, you know, and Microsoft spent a lot of time with their first-party studios trying to make games for the Kinect, trying to make that killer app, make that one game or games that would just, you know, captivate the audience and just bring gamers in and really buy into the Kinect. And it worked a little bit early on with the Xbox 360 and when the Kinect debuted on that device or that console, but you know, as far as we can tell now, Microsoft has kind of just put the Kinect on hold, really, and kind of reshifted their focus on making more traditional console games. And so that's my concern with, as a PlayStation owner, with Sony right now, that perhaps now they're going to focus too much on VR and not enough on the first-party content. And perhaps maybe that's why they're doing some of these deals now. We see some of these third-party excuse me. We see some of these third-party marketing deals that they're focused on. They've almost kind of taken the role that Microsoft had last console generation, with when Microsoft was aggressively going after third-party marketing deals. So, you know, we'll see what happens. I mean, I think this is going to be curious. I think that, you know, me personally, I'm going to keep a close eye on this and see, you know, how things pan out. But based on what I saw from the PlayStation experience and Sony's demonstration of PlayStation VR, and the crowd's reaction, the crowd really didn't seem that into it. People kind of, it was quiet. I'm not buying it just yet. I'm not. And actually, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I was kind of on the fence. I've had this love-hate relationship with VR. I was kind of giving it another shot, if you will. And now I'm kind of at the point where, after watching that press conference and the you know, demonstration of Sony's VR, you know, I'm kind of like, now I'm back on the fence again, thinking like, I don't know if this is something that's going to work out, and I don't know if this is something that's really going to appeal to gamers. It may or may not. You know, I think the challenge with that kind of technology is making that killer app, making that one game or games that are really going to suck people into, and then I think that's, you know, that's tough to do when, you know, when you're asking people to fork over an additional, and look, we still don't know the price of this thing. This thing could be some people are saying that's going to be about the price of a game console. So, for argument's sake, let's say it's $300. They're, consoles are going for $299 right now. Barrett, I'm going to keep his name here. So let's say, $399, or I'm sorry, $299 for PlayStation VR, and then you got to get the PlayStation Move things, that's additional money too. So, is the investment going to be worth the, what you're going to be playing? Is forking over, $300 for games that, may seem cool. Is it worth it? And for me, I don't think it's worth it just yet. I haven't seen anything from VR that warrants spending $300. Because I really feel like, while some of the stuff that VR does is cool and kind of immersing you and creating these different experiences, excuse me, I feel like at some point the novelty is going to wear off, and then once the novelty wears off, I think this is what happened with the Kinect too. Now I know they're different devices, but look, I think the Kinect was cool for a little bit, and then the novelty wore off. It was limited in what it could do or the kind of games that it could, you could really use it for. And VR does have some limitations to it right now. Obviously I think there's the issue of, there's the issue right now of, how much free movement are you going to have, on VR? Or a lot of the game's going to be, VR on rails, which is not, not something for me, at least, that really kind of necessarily gets me really excited about virtual reality, playing a game or majority of games that are on rails. So that's not something that I could say that really, really super excites me. But all right, see, Cloud got some points. All right, so as I'm trying to talk, I'm trying to play Final Fantasy VII at the same time. It's not working out very well. All right, let's see here. And I haven't gotten that far in the game, as you can clearly see. I had a save point too. I don't know what happened. Let's go this way. I do love the music though in this game. It's wonderful. I actually have the theme, the Final Fantasy VII theme on my PlayStation 4. It's actually pretty cool. I do enjoy it. So yeah, I'm not sold. I mean, I just wasn't sold for the PlayStation experience and what Sony showed. And I don't know, they're gonna have to show me more, and I'm just, right now as I'm looking at it, I think this is, PSVR and not just PlayStation VR. I'm not picking on Sony here, but just virtual reality in general. I'm just not sold just yet. I'm not sold. I haven't seen anything yet that makes me think that this isn't going to be something that, or this is going to be something that that a lot of gamers are going to be attracted to. I haven't seen anything yet for me that says, you know what, I need to have this, in the next couple years. I just haven't seen that yet. Who knows? Maybe that changed. Maybe there's this killer app out there we don't know about that just pulls everyone into VR and just gives you the kind of experience you can't get anywhere else. And yes, obviously VR does offer, the kind of experience you can't get in traditional gaming. But to me, there's just a certain level of novelty of it all right now, where it just seems, there just hasn't been anything yet that's been like, wow. I mean, some of the games you saw, again, I forget the name of the zombie taxi driving game. That's a VR game. There was the Office Simulator, which I heard it's a lot of fun. I've never played it. I think it's been on PC, but it's not something that I've played. I heard it's fun, but that's not something that interests me. I was really put off by the 100-foot robot tall golfers, or whatever the name of the game is. That just doesn't seem like that's something that would really interest me. It seems like something that you would just casually pick up and play, which is fine. I mean, if that's your thing, but it's not my thing. So I'm not sure. I'm just, again, I'm thinking about, VR, and I'm thinking about, and again, I understand the Kinect's a different device, but, I kind of draw parallels a little bit there with, motion. When motion was all the rave, and now VR is all the rave, and motion didn't work out as well, and because it was limited in terms of it was limited to specific experiences of what you could do with it, and my fear is that perhaps VR is the same thing. Now that could change. Who knows? Maybe in the next 5 years, I'm eating my words, and VR is all the rave. But for right now, based on what I saw at that PlayStation experience, I'm not sold. And I'm not sold on. And again, we don't know the price tag, but I'm not. So if that thing's $300, I'm not sold on it at all. That's a lot of money to buy, you know, another device. You know, I would take that $300 and put it aside for Nintendo's new game console, the NX, which I'll be doing another video about this coming week. Looks like we got some leaked documents based on, I think, a patent filing on the NX's controller. So, but I'll talk about that at a later time. You know, guys, if you came here to watch Final Fantasy VII, I apologize. I haven't really been doing much. I've just been kind of rambling along here on my VR rant, you know, so... But I don't know, guys. Let me know what you guys think about virtual reality. If you guys think it's going to be a thing, or if this is just going to be a novelty that just, you know, wears off, or if this is going to be something that just maybe appeals to, you know, a more casual gamer, maybe not your traditional console gamer. You know, or let me know if you think this thing has legs, if maybe we're just kind of jumping the gun here. You know, if you think that VR is going to work, let me know why. And if you're worried about Sony focusing a lot of their first-party development on VR, if you think that's a great thing, let me know. If you don't think it's a great thing, let me know too. I'd really be interested to, you know, hear your thoughts and comments and opinions about this. I think this is going to be something that obviously going to be something that Sony talks a lot about in the next coming years. It's going to be kind of a big platform for them, and you know, we'll see, you know, how things play out. Obviously, there's, you know, they're not the only ones doing VR. There's Oculus is doing it. It's backed by Facebook. But you know, we'll see. You'll see the next couple of years how this all pans out. But again, as I mentioned, I'm just not sold on it right now. I think that this might go the wayside of maybe a Kinect type thing, where, you know, it's great initially, and then the novelty wears off. And so, you know, we'll and then you know, and we're talking about you know, how VR didn't work and how maybe Sony focused too much time, you know, with first party stuff that was more VR focused as opposed to making more traditional console games. So, but yeah, let me know your thoughts, comments. I appreciate it. And also, guys, I'm sorry about not really playing Final Fantasy VII. I'll have to do another YouTube stream of Final Fantasy VII. And I got to talk about this game, you know, in another video when I play this again, because this game right here, if you guys, for some of you gamers may have not be old enough to remember, but when this game came out, it was a big deal because Final Fantasy had always been on a Nintendo console, and you know, there was kind of a coup, if you will, Sony getting this game over to the first PlayStation console, and this was really kind of mind-blowing for us as console gamers, because we've only gamed on cartridges up until that generation. Sony comes in with the PlayStation, has, you know, a you know, CD. You know, Sony didn't go the cartridge way, Nintendo did, and Sony had the CD, and we know how the rest played out in history, but I'll have to talk about that another time. So, all right, guys, well, I think there was like one person watching this video stream, so thank you for watching, and if you guys have any comments, again, leave the comments below. For those going to watch the video later on, thanks for watching. Give me a like and give me a subscription if you like what you're hearing, and I will talk to you guys soon.